What we're seeing from every NHL team so far this season. Let's get right into it. Non-Blackhawks game day today. So again, trying to work in some more broader NHL videos. This article is from The Athletic, so shout out to them. Firstly, from the Anaheim Ducks, Beckett Seneca is staying in Anaheim. Yeah, he's had a really terrific start to his NHL career. He's point per game through his first 4 games, averaging over 18 minutes per night. Seneca's been really strong for a overall pretty young Anaheim Ducks forward core, especially with some of their younger players. Leo Carlson starting to come on here. He has 6 points through the first 4 games. Cutter Gauthier has 3 goals to start. So yeah, it's been really good in Anaheim for the Ducks, particularly in their forward core. And Beckett Seneca is one of those guys included. Yeah, he will likely stay up in the NHL with his hot start. Boston Bruins, excellent coaching. Yeah, the Bruins have started off playing much better than expected. I expected them to be one of the bottom 8 to 10 teams in the NHL, and they still might end up being that. But to start this season, they sure don't look like that, as they've played really good hockey. It's not the most talented group of forwards, but they've played pretty well altogether. They started off 3-0, have lost their past 2 games, but both were 1-goal losses to good teams in Tampa Bay and Vegas. So the Bruins, I'm sure the coaching is helping because they have started off real strong. Buffalo Sabres, best players starting slow. Yeah, the Sabres have kind of been the laughingstock of the league to start this season, and I feel for Sabres fans because they've kind of been the laughingstock of the league for a while now. They have such talented players on their team, but they have certainly not been able to put it together. They started 0-3 and were struggling to score goals from anybody. They did have a huge win though over the Ottawa Senators. Hopefully they can start winning some games because it's so early in the season. I don't expect them to be this bad moving forward. But yeah, it was a real rough start for Buffalo. Calgary Flames. The Flames don't look like they've improved much in terms of scoring. Yeah, the Flames have started 1-4, are currently in last place in the league as I'm recording this. I think I talked about the Flames in the bold predictions video where they just don't really have like that number one guy in the forward group that you can really count on to give you goals. Nazem Kadri gave you 35 last year, but I don't know if you can really count on that happening this year. Jonathan Huberdeau has been out to start this season, so you're not going to get a ton of scoring from the offense, and that's been apparent in Calgary to start this season. They have struggled out of the gates. I did not expect them to repeat last season where they almost snuck into a playoff spot. I do see some regression from this team, and that's how they started off. Carolina, deep forward lines. I haven't watched Carolina play yet this year, but they are the league's only remaining undefeated team. And yeah, I've heard only good things about Seth Jarvis in particular. It sounds like he's taking another step in his game. And obviously that top line with Jarvis, Aho, and Ehlers is really good. And you still have, just their full forward core overall is probably atop the league in terms of depth. So they've started off the year undefeated. Obviously, this was the team that was expected to be very good, and it looks like they will be, and they are as good as advertised. I think this was my President's Trophy team, if I remember correctly from my season predictions I did. Either way, I have them atop the league, and that's how they've started this season. Chicago Blackhawks. The Blackhawks resemble a competent NHL team. That's I think almost an understatement. They've played really, really well to start this season, currently sitting at 2-2 to start. And even their losses now, they have lost 4 games, but every single loss has been a 1-goal game, and they've played teams really strong. You look like at the opening night, banner raising night in Florida versus the defending champions, the Blackhawks, outside of a kind of a rocky first period. They played really well and even outplayed the Panthers, in the second period especially, and potentially the third as well. They just couldn't pull out the win in that one, and that's against one of the top teams in the league. They played Boston into overtime. Same with last night versus Vancouver. And then they also beat Utah, crushed St. Louis, and lost a close game versus Montreal that came down to the wire. So the Blackhawks have been a very competent team and have really tested some of their opponents early this season. So it's been really fun for the Blackhawks and Blackhawks fans. Been a really strong start to the season in Chicago. Colorado Avalanche, the top line is cooking. They've scored more goals at even strength than any line in hockey without allowing a single goal against this season. And yeah, it makes sense. I mean, there's such talented players atop the Avalanche forward group. Nathan MacKinnon, obviously, no need to talk about him. And then Marty Necas, just I feel like they're almost the same player in a way, except Necas isn't quite as good, obviously, but he's still such a good player in his own right. And then combine him with Arturi Lehkonen, who's a really quality NHL player. That's been a really good line in hockey. I watched that game they played versus Buffalo, and the MacKinnon line was just cooking. So real good game, real good start for Colorado and that top line. In particular, Columbus Blue Jackets improved goaltending. Heading into this season, I was really high, and I still am really high on Jet Greaves for Columbus. I think he's going to take over the starter's job as the year progresses, and he started off right where he's picked up right where he left off at the end of last season in his NHL games that he stopped 55 of 59 to start. But then Elvis Merzlikins has also been really good. He has a .920 save percentage early on this year. Was not very high on Elvis heading into this year, but he's been a bit of a surprise to start this season. But Columbus getting good goaltending is huge for this group, but they still haven't been able to get wins. It feels like last year their biggest problem was goaltending, and then this year, the least of their problems has been goaltending, and they still haven't been able to get wins. This team really needs to put it together, because I think they could be a playoff team if they put everything together, but that has not been the case to start this season. Dallas Stars, they're not playing as well as their record suggests. Dallas has started 3-1 this season, and I'm just going to be honest, I haven't watched any of their games to start this year, so I can't really comment on this, but it sounds like there could be some regression long term, though they still have such a talented roster. I wouldn't be too concerned, though I haven't watched Dallas's games to start this season. Detroit Red Wings, rookies stepping up. Yeah, the Red Wings have actually been a younger group and a much more fun group. They had a pretty bad loss to Montreal on opening night, but then they made the switch, scratched one of their veteran defensemen, Axel Sandin Pellikka, who's been super good playing with Simon Edvinsson on the Detroit D-Corps. That's been a really good group of guys on the back end, young guys for Detroit. And then you have Michael Branzik-Nygaard, you have Emmett Finney on the forward group, and then obviously Dylan Larkin is that leader. He's been playing really good. Marco Kasper is still super young, and this team has put together wins in Toronto. They just beat the defending champion Florida Panthers. They had an overtime win the other night. This Detroit Red Wings team has been really, really good to start this season, and it's largely due to them getting younger and getting some fresh blood in the lineup. I've been able to catch a couple of the Red Wings games, and they've actually been a pretty fun team to watch. I watched, in particular, that Toronto game where they actually kind of got outplayed largely, but they were still able to pull out the win. And then the game versus Florida, they played pretty solid overall and got the win versus the defending champions. So looking actually pretty good and better than expected, I would say, in Detroit. Edmonton, difficulty scoring at 5-on-5. Still missing Zach Hyman to start this season. And yeah, the forward core just isn't super, super deep overall. So I can't say this is like a crazy surprise. Seems like there's no solid lines yet. So again, the Oilers they have so good top end players that I'm not too concerned that they won't be able to figure it out. Florida Panthers, offense might be a challenge. Obviously, partially expected as you're missing your top two players, but the team's still pretty deep. I think they'll be able to figure it out. This is still just such a good team, even if their start hasn't been amazing. Los Angeles Kings, too many whistles, penalty killing suffers. Kings, they play late, so again, not a team I've been able to catch so far this season. Sounds like Brent Clark's getting more ice time, and they split up the Brian Dumoulin Cody Ceci pair, which I can't imagine watching. They've been shorthanded 24 times and 8 power play goals allowed. So yeah, that's obviously a huge problem. You're not going to be able to win a lot of hockey games when that's happening. The Kings only have 1 win on the year, so they're going to have to figure it out here. I still do expect them to be pretty good, but it's been a rough start. In particular, Minnesota Wild power play is electric. Yeah, this is a super talented power play, and I think the addition of Zeev Buyum is really helping that. Zeev is, I'm even as a Blackhawks fan, I recognize Zeev is a really exciting young defenseman in Minnesota, and him taking over the power play, I think, has only benefited that top unit that already has Kirill Kaprizov, Matthew Boldy, and others. So not surprised really to see the power play cooking for Minnesota. I think Zeev is a potential top 3 Calder Trophy finisher. I said that I said that earlier at some point because just being on the power play and playing with some of the talented players in Minnesota is going to be really beneficial for Zeev, and it's beneficial for the power play overall, which has been good to start. They scored a league high 10 power play goals to start this season. Montreal Canadiens improved defensive play. Montreal's been a real fun team to watch. They've been one of the best teams in the league over the past week or so. They started their season with a loss to Toronto, but since then they've won 4 straight games, including 2 in overtime. And yeah, they've been really good defensively overall. Held Detroit to 1 goal in their win, held the Blackhawks to 2 goals in an effort that was very solid defensively. Just held the Predators to 2 goals as well. So they're making strides there, and overall they've just been such a fun team. Cole Caulfield is cooking. Some of the young players on that team are really picking up where they left off last season. They've been a really good team, and it's fun to watch. Nashville Predators, UC Saros is playing well. Yeah, wow. He has a 9.35 in 4 games this season, a 1.94 GAA for Saros. And according to Money Puck, he is top 5 in goals saved above expected, already 5.1 goals saved in his 4 games. So yeah, I mean, not much more to say. The numbers speak for themselves. New Jersey Devils, they put this guy back in the video after he was in the bold predictions video as well, and I said I couldn't pronounce his name. Though I've since learned, I'm pretty sure it's Arseny Gritsuk, so I think I have it right now, which is good. But yeah, he started off the season 3 assists in 4 games in very limited ice time, averaging I think around like 12 minutes or so. To start this season, he's been really good. In the bold predictions video it was something like he could win the Calder or finish top. I think it was top 5 in Calder voting, and I was like, yeah, I could see it happening because there's a lot of young players in the league that could compete and get Calder votes, and I think Gritsuk is one of them. And he started off the season very well, near a point per game and limited ice time. We'll see how maybe his ice time goes up in the future. I'm not sure exactly what the lines are in New Jersey, but he started off real well. New York Islanders, Matthew Schaefer is a rising star. Schaefer has surprised me so much. We're talking about people that could potentially win the Calder. I think Schaefer has to be in the conversation, and heading into the year, I wasn't sure that was going to be the case. I didn't really view him as a top 3 guy heading into the season, but right now, yeah, I think he has to be in my top 3. I've been so impressed with how he's played. He's looked just like he did in the OHL. The transition hasn't seemed too hard for him as he's just making super exciting offensive plays. Schaefer's brought some really good energy to an Islanders team that has struggled to start this season, and Schaefer just looks like a star. So yeah, that's pretty accurate. New York Rangers, the defense is much improved. The defense may be solid for the Rangers, but the offense is not. They've allowed a total of 9 goals in 6 games, but have also been shut out all 3 games at home to start this season. 3 of the 6 games they've been shut out, still have not scored a goal at home this season. So the defense may be good, but the offense has stunk to start this season. They're going to need to improve that, obviously. Ottawa Senators, the penalty kills could use some work. This one, not too much analysis from me. I've only caught about half of the Senators game this season, so apparently it's been bad on the PK. I feel like their power play has been pretty decent. They've got pretty good guys like Shane Pinto has been really good for the Senators this season. Philadelphia Flyers, Matvei Mishkov is struggling. Yeah, I saw a few games ago, I think Mishkov was benched, and yeah, apparently he's just been off to a rocky start, hasn't produced much statistics-wise, and just hasn't seemed to be playing quite as good as we know he can be. So I guess we'll monitor Mishkov moving forward. Pittsburgh Penguins, tenacity. Simple. I watched the Penguins opening night game. That was a real strong game for Pittsburgh. I still don't think this team's going to be very good this season, but I guess they have been a little more competent than I thought they would be. I mean, they have a winning 3-2 record to start, and I still think this team will finish in the bottom 5 of the standings. So it's been impressive. They're not quite as bad as I thought, and I guess, it's going to be tough to be bad when you still have guys like Sidney Crosby, Erik Karlsson, Chris Letang, and such. Artis Shilovs has been pretty good to start this season. I think Tristan Jarry's been decent, if I'm correct on that. So yeah, Penguins have actually impressed me a little bit. I still don't think this team's going to be too good, but they have been better than expected to start San Jose Sharks. Too many goals allowed. Yeah, the Sharks have, and it's not even just goals, and it's just some sloppy goals. I don't know what's happening in San Jose, but I've seen multiple clips of their goaltenders just basically giving up freebies. I don't know how that's happened so many times this early in the season. And yeah, that's just not a recipe for success. Seattle Kraken, Matty Beniers' offense is on the rise. Kraken have started this season pretty good, and Beniers has 3 points in his first 4 games. The Kraken top line overall, which includes Jared McCann, who's been point per game to start, has been really good, and that's been a big reason for the Kraken's early success. They're currently 2-0-2 to start, so still have not had a regulation loss, and it's a lot better than I expected for the Kraken early in the season. And Beniers has been a solid part of that. St. Louis Blues defense is giving up way too many grade A chances. Yeah, that Blackhawks game from Wednesday is the only Blues game that I've watched this year, and obviously that's not going to leave a good impression on the team. Blackhawks just really dominated them, but also the goaltending was pretty bad. They have one of the best goalie tandems in the league, unless they're off, and they were both off. And they lost to the Blackhawks. That's the only game I've seen from St. Louis, and it wasn't pretty, so I probably just should skip over them for that reason. Tampa Bay Lightning, a slow defensive group. Yeah, Tampa Bay started off pretty slow this season. They're still a really good team, and I actually picked them to win or at least be in the Stanley Cup final. So not ideal for me there, but if the blue line's getting beat in transition on a nightly basis, that's obviously not a good sign for the team. So I guess that's something to monitor on their decor and see if that can hold up, but I feel confident that it will. It's just been a rough start. It sounds like Toronto Maple Leafs, Easton Cohen may be ready to play in the NHL. Yeah, Cohen's been real good. I watched his NHL debut versus Detroit, and he held his own. They were giving him opportunities. I think there was a 6-on-5 sequence near the end of the game or something like that, and Cohen was on the ice there with the big guys like Matthews, Nylander, and company. So it's been an impressive start for Easton Cohen. We'll see how he continues. Utah Mammoth haven't consistently found a top offensive gear yet. Yeah, the Utah game I've watched came versus the Blackhawks, and they really struggled offensively, did not test the Blackhawks very much. Heading into that game, the Blackhawks had given up numerous high-quality grade A chances against, but the Mammoth really didn't generate any, which I think is a telling sign that their offense hasn't been great to start. Now, they did just record a big 6-3 win over the San Jose Sharks. Nick Schmaltz had a hat trick in that game. I think Keller had a 4-point game, so maybe that's starting to come alive here, and it was just a slow start for the top group, but we'll see how they figure it out. I'm sure they will, because that group is really talented, especially in the top 6. Vancouver Canucks, Thatcher Demko looks elite again. Yeah, Thatcher Demko is top 3 in goals saved above expected with 5.2 in just 3 games played. So he's really been incredible for the Canucks. Even Kevin Lankinen has been good. He was really good in the Blackhawks versus Canucks game last night. So the Canucks have gotten really good goaltending, just had a back-to-back win streak on a tough back-to-back. So it's been a real positive for the Canucks. We'll see if Demko can continue that moving forward. Hopefully he can stay healthy. That's been a bit of a problem for him recently. Vegas, the Jack Eichel and Mitch Marner experiment is ongoing. I mean, even if they're still working out the best chemistry, it hasn't really affected their statistics. Eichel has 11 points in 5 games to start this season. Mitch Marner has 6 assists in 5 games and is a team leading +6. So, I mean, maybe there's still some stuff that could be improved upon, but once they get that, I don't know how anyone's going to stop them, because they've started the year really, really well. I mean, Eichel, 5 goals, 6 assists in 5 games this season. And Washington Capitals, Alexei Protas is following up on his breakout. I am a huge Protas fan. I've been on him for like the past 3 seasons and kind of called his breakout last year. Just going to take credit, pat myself on the back, and victory lap that one. But yeah, Protas has been really, really good after a breakout season last year. He's followed that up and been very productive to start this season. He's got 4 goals and 6 points in the team's first 5 games after, I think he had some like 30-plus goals, 60-plus points last season. So he's been really, really good. I absolutely love watching him play. One of my favorite players to watch, just because of his combination of size, skill, and speed. So Protas to start this year, following up on his breakout, really hoping that is a trend that continues, because I really like him, and I think he is a big part of the Washington Capitals and has blossomed into a real quality player for them. Winnipeg Jets, Morgan Barron could be taking the next step. I actually watched the Jets game versus the Islanders, and I do remember Barron having a nasty backhand goal on a semi breakaway. Barron has 5 points in 4 games to start this season, and he's playing on the 4th line. Seems like he may be getting moved up, especially with some of the center injuries that the team has. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Barron, but he's been real good for the Jets on that 4th line. Kind of crazy the production he's produced playing on that 4th line. So that's going to do it for this video. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know how your team started this season. Anything I'm missing, let me know. That's going to do it for this one.